if the population of our country or the population of even whole world will increase at a rate of just less than 1% even, then that day is not far away when the wars will be fought on the resources, when there will be more and more prevalence of social issues. Well, today we are going to study the birth control, its measures, need, and methods. Welcome to channel RBBL Lectures, and Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all of you. Today we are going to study the second important topic of the third component of the first unit of our zoology, in reproductive health component. Today we will study birth control. In previous lectures we came to know that contraception actually marks the beginning of embryonic development, and so far as whole process of reproduction is concerned, this contraception marks the beginning of pregnancy or beginning of life of a new individual or new young one. It sounds good when a person gets conceived, but if the conception rate will be so frequent that it will ultimately lead to increase in the population, it will ultimately lead to increase in the rate of the population of a country, of a community, even of the world, then it will prove to be hazardous. That is why under this sex education component of our unit, of our chapter, today we are going to study the birth control, its need, and its methods. So birth control is actually the regulation, it is the regulation of conception, through natural or artificial methods. Natural or artificial methods. Methods can be both artificial or natural, about which we will came to know when we will begin to start this component of our today's topic. Why it is so? In order to limit the number of offsprings produced. To limit the number of offsprings produced. This is called birth control. So we have to utilize either natural or artificial methods or our reproductive systems so that we will prevent the increasing number of offsprings produced. And why there is need for birth control? When it sounds good to have a son, when it sounds good to have a daughter, then why there is need that we should utilize different methods to have control over our new births? It is well understood that so far as 2011 census of our country is concerned, it established that India has a growth rate of less than 2%. That means 20 births per 1,000 of persons per year. If the same growth rate will prevail, it will lead to scarcity of the resources, it will lead to lack of job opportunities to the new youth, it will lead to fights, quarrels from a familial level up to the higher community levels. And this very alarming growth rate leads to increase in population. When there is exponential increase of the population, that leads to explosion of the population. And we know that in 1900, India was only having around 320 million people. And so far as census 2011 is concerned, we crossed 1.2 billion. Same is the case at global level. In globe, within this 100-year of span, more than 1.2 billion people were added to the global population. So this increased population will lead to lack of job opportunities, lack of resources, mismanagement of resources, socio-religious or socio-political issues. So many bad things will get birth if such population explosion will take place. So there is need for birth control. And second thing is family planning. India is the first country which started in 1951 a special family planning program. With the passing of time, with the passing of the years, India encouraged couples for having only 2 children. You might have heard this slogan, we too, ours too. This slogan was actually given in order to encourage the couples who put a full stop over the production of their young ones after having already 2 children. When family planning is there, then couples were educated that they should maintain gaps between the children so that there will be proper moral and physical development of the first young one. After it is complete and proper moral, mental, social, and physical development, then the couple can plan a second baby. And this family planning will lead to decrease in infant mortality rate as well as decrease in maternal mortality rate. So that is why birth control measures should be adopted. And next thing is maternal health. We have medically seen that when a female gives birth to more than 2, 3, or 4 so many children, then she jeopardizes her health. And that jeopardizing of her health leads to increased maternal mortality rates. Not only this, so far as maternal health with respect to the reproductive processes are concerned, when the couples are properly educated, then they came to know that if they will be having a good family planning, then the focus will be on the child education, motherhood, maternal health, and maintenance of good socio-psychological conditions within the mother or the female partner. Next thing is economic stability. When we have a limited number of newborns or children, then it has been seen through research that the family lives a life with high standards. There is no scarcity of food, energy resources. There is increased educational opportunity provision to the young one, and increased opportunity of the learning and the standard of living of the young ones, of the children, of the family, of the parents. And all these ultimately lead to economic stability within the family and ultimately economic stability within the community or within the country. So there is need for the birth control. Next is prevention of unwanted pregnancy. Birth control measures are also being adopted. Sometimes there are unwanted pregnancies, like sexual abuses may lead to sexual assaults, like rape cases are there, which may lead to unwanted pregnancies. Sometimes this condition, the unwanted pregnancy condition, may be even faced by a legal couple even. And if the couple will be educated about the implementation of the birth control measures, then they can prevent such unwanted pregnancies. Number next is prevention of sexually transmitted diseases. We know that there are so many sexually transmitted diseases, like gonorrhea is there, syphilis is there, candidiasis is there, trichomoniasis is there, AIDS is there, hepatitis B is there. So many sexually transmitted diseases are there. Most of the artificial birth control measures through barrier methods, when they are adopted, they also lead to prevention of such deadly diseases. Prevention of such deadly diseases. So far as all these 5-6 conditions are concerned, we feel, every country feels, every person, every couple of the world, of our country feels the need for this birth control measure through artificial means or through these natural means. Now let us look over the methods which have to be adopted by a couple for having a control over the formation of their young ones or the conception. So contraceptive methods include natural methods. First, so far as natural methods of contraception are concerned, they are primarily of 3 types. Number first is called as periodic abstinence. Number first is periodic abstinence. Periodic abstinence means that a couple keeps knowledge about the female partner's menstrual cycle. And we know that within the menstrual cycle, there are a few phases. And in the middle of the menstrual cycle, around day 14 of the menstrual cycle, there are most of the chances of ovulation. If copulation is done in such a time, then there are most of the chances of fertilization as well as conception. When a couple is fully educated, then the couple will abstain themselves, they will refrain themselves from remaining in contact with one another in this period of ovulation. In most of the cases, they may need to avoid the copulation around in between day 10 to day 18. That is why this periodic abstinence natural method is also called as rhythm method. It is also called as rhythm method. However, this natural method is not having 100% success rate, because there are deviations so far as the number of days taken by every female to complete her menstrual cycle. Thereby, deviations in this abstinence period can be observed by a female, which may lead to sometimes unwanted pregnancies. Number 7 natural method is coitus interruptus. Coitus interruptus. Coitus interruptus is also called as withdrawal method. Withdrawal method. In this method, the male partner during the coitus or during the copulation ensures that he has not inseminated, he has not ejaculated the semen into the genital tract, into the vagina of the female, so that the sperms won't get opportunity to enter into the female reproductive tract or to reach up to the egg to fertilize the egg. But so far as pre-cum is concerned, precum is the fluid secretion before ejaculation in the male during the coitus. It has been seen that most of the sperms are also present in the precum. That is why this coitus interruptus or withdrawal method is not considered to be 100% successful, or to be considered as 100% successful natural method for contraception. Number third is lactational amenorrhea. When a lactating mother feeds her baby after her parturition for up to almost 6 months, when she lactates her baby more and more, then there is less secretion of follicle stimulating hormone and this luteinizing hormone. Due to least secretion of FSH and LH, there is most of the times absence of whole menstrual or ovarian cycles. When there is lack of ovarian cycles, then there will be lack of ovulation, then there will be lack of availability of egg for the sperms to get fertilized. So this can be also used as a natural method for having a prolonged gap between the children, or for using as a birth control measure. After this, we have artificial methods. All these are actually artificial methods. Artificial methods are of two types. One, when such methods are practiced by a couple, they are temporary. And another type, which is being done by the experts, by the doctors, but such methods are surgical and such methods are permanent. So artificial methods are of two types, temporary and permanent. Permanent methods are surgical methods. So far as temporary methods are concerned, first methods are barrier methods. What do you mean by barrier methods? Barrier methods means when we are maintaining a barrier between the male gamete and the female gamete, so that they won't get any opportunity to get fused, to get fertilized with one another. And barriers are being made by latex, by rubber, or any other such relevant material. And barriers can be used by both males as well as females. The male barrier methods are called as condoms, while as the barriers used by females are often termed as femidomes. These methods are not oftenly being reused, but there are some particular type of the barriers which are being used mostly by the female partner, which have been seen and observed more having more prolonged effects over the prevention of the meeting of the gametes. And such barriers include vaults, diaphragms, and even loops. All these barriers not only are being used as artificial barriers so that no opposite gametes will get the opportunity to get fused with one another, but they also are useful for the prevention of sexually transmitted diseases. And our next is intrauterine contraceptive devices. These are the devices which are being incorporated mostly into the uterus, which release sometimes some chemicals which are spermicidal, which increase the phagocytosis rate of the sperms, as a result of which sperms, if present, become non-viable to fertilize the egg. And these intrauterine devices include some these medicine releasing and some medicine releasing devices. There is an example of intrauterine this contraceptive device called as Lips loop. Lips loop. This Lips loop has a haphazard manner, and it is being incorporated by an expert up to the uterus, up to the cervical and uterine region of the female partner of a female. Then after when it is being incorporated, it loses its zigzag manner. Then after it is being incorporated, then it regains its zigzag manner, so that it covers the cervical canal or the entry point of the uterus in such a way so that it won't give opportunity to the incoming sperms to reach up to the ampullary part of the fallopian tube, to reach anterior regions of the female genital tract, so that no fertilization takes place. And similarly, there are some other types of these intrauterine contraceptive devices. And one of the important and popular contraceptive device is LNG20. This LNG20 or progestat, these are such type of devices which continuously release some chemicals or some hormones which increase the spermicidal phagocytic activity, as a result of which sperms become continuously non-viable and lose their ability to fertilize the eggs. Besides that, there are some other intrauterine devices like copper T is there. This device has the ability to release ions like copper, which again kills the sperms, as a result of which sperm loses their ability to fertilize the eggs. And like copper T, there are some other implants like multi-load, like multi-load 375. Multi-load 375. Actually, these are some specific implants which are not being implanted into the uterine region of the female. They are being implanted in the groin regions, in different regions within the muscular regions, within some other parts of the body, and they continuously and for longer durations, even for more than 5 years, they release specific hormones like progesterone, like estrogen, in such a way so that they prevent the fertility rate, they prevent the fertilizing rate of the sperms and eggs within the female's body. Remember one thing, that the use of medicine releasing, chemical releasing these intrauterine contraceptive devices or such implants have been seen, they have some marginal negative impact over the female partner so far as her other cardiovascular health, her this respiratory health, or her this neuropsychological health is concerned. So such methods should be utilized with the proper consent from the experts, from the concerned doctors only. And our next is hormonal methods. Hormonal methods include the use of pills or such implants which release hormones like progesterone, like estrogen, in such a way, in such a concentration, so that their concentration in the blood leads to temporary infertility, as a result of which easily a big or a huge gap can be maintained between any two successive children, or it can be even used as a temporary birth control measure. And such methods should also be practiced under the supervision of a very expert gynecologist. And besides that, we have also some permanent methods. These were not permanent methods, but we have some permanent methods. Permanent methods can be adopted by both male parent or female parent. And permanent methods are surgical methods. An easy surgery is being done by an expert gynecologist, by an expert doctor, with respect to male or female reproductive system. We know the different parts of male reproductive system or different parts of female reproductive system. And so far as males are concerned, they have vasa afferentia, which collects the sperms from the epididymis and incorporates them into the coppers, into the ejaculatory duct, then up to the urethra and onwards. When surgical method is being done, a simple cut or incision is being done in the sacrodal region of a male, where a single smaller portion from both sides of the vasa deferentia is being extracted out, and the remaining portion is being knotted like this from both the sides. As a result of which, the male is said to be infertilized. And this surgical infertilization of the female will lead to zero transportation of the sperms up to the other regions, or when such a male will ejaculate, it will ejaculate the semen without sperms. So this is the permanent method. When such a male will remain in contact with his female partner, there will be availability of zero sperms which would have either fertilized the eggs. And the second surgical method may be applied to the female partner as well. We know that the female reproductive system consists of these structures, in which ovary, in which cervix, vagina, uterus, and fallopian tubes are there. A simple incision is being made in her abdominal region, where from both the sides a smaller portion of fallopian tube is being extracted out after having a cut, and the remaining portion is similarly being tied up. As a result of which, no egg will get opportunity to reach up to this region, or no sperm will get opportunity to reach up to the egg for the purpose of the fertilization. So these are permanent surgical methods applied for the prevention of fertilization. These methods have a least chances of reversal. Remind this thing. But here the question is, where this egg or where these sperms goes? We know that the sperms are being temporarily stored in the epididymis, or this part of the vasa deferentia. These sperms, after some time, they become non-viable, they die, and then they are being taken by the phagocytes, and as such, their components get reabsorbed. Same is the case with the egg. When egg is not getting fertilized, it becomes finally non-viable, it dies, then it's being phagocytosed, and its phagocytosis leads to a release of some components. Such components are being continuously washed out or reabsorbed in this region. So there is development of no any such issues after exhibition of these surgical methods. When this surgical method was adopted by the male over his vasa deferentia, then this method is called as vasectomy. Mostly this method is called as vasectomy. And similarly, when this surgical method was adopted by the female partner, it was applicable over half fallopian tube. That is why it is referred as tubectomy. So vasectomy and tubectomy are both the permanent surgical methods adopted by male or female parent. In a couple, there is need for only a single partner to exhibit such this surgical method to have a regulation over the production of the young ones for all times to come in their life. Now, sometimes there is emergency. Sometimes unwanted intimation, unwantedly in a couple, they unwantedly underwent the coitus, underwent the sexual intercourse, and in such conditions, some emergency pills are being utilized with the prescription of the doctors to have a regulation over the conception. And that is why there is another important method, artificial method rather, for birth control, and that method is chemical method. The chemical method include the use of pills having chemicals including hormones like progesterone, like estrogen, and such pills in India, Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow, has made a few decades ago an important pill, namely Saheli, which will prevent the unwanted pregnancy within a period of even 72 hours of copulation. And so far as these chemical methods are concerned, use of jellies, use of spermicidal jellies, use of spermicidal foams, use of spermicidal creams are being practiced by the couples to have a regulation over the unwanted pregnancies. And these chemical methods these chemical methods include the use of these chemicals which have a composition of lactic acid, which have a composition of boric acid, and sometimes composition of copper, composition of citric acid. All these chemicals have been seen very fruitful in increasing the phagocytosis rate of the sperms within the female genital tract. It also includes the use of the zinc, and sometimes these chemicals are being used as suppository pills. Suppository pills may be having either these chemicals or sometimes a chemical like delphin is there. Delphin is there. By the use of such chemicals through direct means or through pills, there's an important well-known pill, Mala D, which contain many chemicals and which contain these hormone-like substances, progesterone-like substances, estrogen-like substances, which prove to be very fruitful, a fruitful method of a birth control measure. Besides that, I am falling short of space here to describe a little bit more about the chemicals. Let me tell you directly that besides the use of the malady or other such similar pills, sometimes emergency pills like unwanted 72 is being used. Besides that, there is sometimes use of some other special injection type of the chemicals in which the female partner is being injected by some special chemicals, and injections of a chemical known as dipomethoxyprogesterone acetate. Dipomethoxyprogesterone acetate is being sometimes used. Sometimes another chemical, norethiosterone type of the chemical is also present, which is being used as an injectable for the female partner, and which have been seen to be very fruitful for having a regulation over the formation or over the conception. So with this, we have concluded all the natural as well as artificial methods which are being adopted by the couple to have a regulation over the conception or the births. So they happen to be very fruitful birth controlling measures. And we also came to know about the need of birth control. And the birth control measures and methods are being utilized in order to make our society, our families economically sound, socially sound, morally sound, in order to decrease the maternal mortality rates, infant mortality rates, and sometimes such practices are being done with the with the culmination of unwanted pregnancies in sexual assault cases. With this, we have concluded our today's lecture. We will meet now in next lecture with next topic. Till then, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.